Yeah, so I just wanted to start this what if just because I thought it was interesting. So the way we're gonna start this what if is what if Deku had energy manipulation, and I borrowed this from a couple of other what if YouTubers that I just happened to see on YouTube, and I thought it was pretty interesting. But most of the time, they only interpret it like Deku can take energy from living things to like enhance himself in some way. The way I thought it would be interesting was if Deku could take the energy from things around him, but he could make it into sort of like beams, if you know, like with a Dragon Ball Z, like a Kamehameha, like that sort of thing, except it's a little bit different. So it'll be kind of a mix of a lot of things from a lot of different anime, but I just thought it'd be cool. So we start off our story at the Quirk Doctor. It'll be the same one that originally checks out Deku. Deku will be excited for the first time going to the Quirk Doctor, not knowing what to expect. His mother takes him reluctantly because Deku's just been bothering her about it the entire day. And this is before school starts, the day before. So now, the Quirk Doctor says, okay, we've examined your son. It turns out your son does have a quirk. And your son's quirk is very, very powerful. They say that your son's quirk has the ability to take the energy out of living matter around him. And it does destroy this matter, and that, it can make things turn into piles of ash if he absorbs too much. So the object will just stop, being an object. But Deku is astounded by this. Deku just loves hearing it. He's jumping for joy. He's like, it's like, Mom, I can be like All Might. And she's telling him to calm down so that the Quirk Doctor can keep talking. So basically, he goes on to then say, well, Deku also has the ability to kind of make hard energy constructs, and that really just means that he can make things solid out of energy. Like, I don't know how you'd explain it, but if you've ever seen like Netero from I don't think I said his name right, but Netero from Hunter x Hunter, and he uses his Buddha statue, it's kind of like that. Or like the Susanoo, like that from Naruto. So basically, he can make hard energy constructs, pretty strong things that are hard to break and that are made out of energy. So after knowing this, they run a few more tests just to see if they found the limit of his power, and they give him a rank. They say it's A+ rank until we can find out more about it. So later that day, Deku and his mother go home, saying, okay, Deku has a quirk. And his mother is kind of happy, but kind of not, because she doesn't know how to feel about it, because Deku's been wanting a quirk, since forever. And he always wants to be like All Might and be a hero, and she's worried about him. She doesn't want him to be so reliant on his quirk. Like, this is the only thing I'm worth. So she's kind of worried about him. So nothing really happens too much until the next day. The next day, we start off with Uzuku and Bakugo. Basically, they're both in the center of class, and they're the center of attention because they have amazing quirks. All of the teachers are like, wow, you have such amazing quirks. You two will make such great heroes. But they're competing with each other. Bakugo immediately says, no, my quirk is better. And Deku immediately says, no, my quirk is better. And they go on bickering for just a little while before the teachers tell them to just calm down. It's okay. You both have amazing quirks. You both are amazing. And nothing else really happens, but it just establishes the rivalry between Deku and Bakugo. So we pick up at high school. This is really when the teacher comes in and says, okay, I would ask you guys, what do you want to be in life and what do you want to do? And I will give you these applications, but let's be honest, all of you want to be heroes and go to UA. And everyone starts jumping for joy and using their quirks until Bakugo stands up and says, don't compare me to the rest of these guys. I'm going to UA. And this astounds the teacher because he's like, wow, Bakugo, you're going to UA? He says, yeah, you could probably make it. You're one of the top students and you have such a cool quirk. Yeah, you can probably go to UA. And then he also says, oh, Uzuku, you're also applying to go to UA. That's funny. And everybody just looks at Deku, and Bakugo just stands up and says, what do you think you're doing? And Izuku asks him, what are you talking about? And he says, why are you trying to go to UA? Are you trying to be like me? Do you not know how to be like yourself? And he says, and Izuku says, no, I'm just wanting to go to UA. And who said UA was for you specifically? You're not the only guy here with a good quirk. And kind of disperses Bakugo, because Bakugo is just standing up in the middle of class and everyone's looking at him. So he just kind of, he kind of backs off Deku for a little while. Just like, stupid Deku, always in my way. And aside from that, nothing else really happens until we get to the UA exams. Everything really happens the same. And I think, yeah, I did miss the sludge villain, but the only reason I didn't say anything is because everything happens the exact same way. The only difference is Deku doesn't want all for one. No, it's one for all. I had it wrong. My bad. But Deku actually doesn't want one for all. So he kind of rejects it, but he couldn't do it anyway because he's not physically adequate. But anyway, it basically happens the same way with the sludge villain. Everything is in canon, and nothing too different really happens until we get to the UA exam. The UA exam is quite different now. Deku, being quite adept at using his power and having a rivalry with Bakugo, immediately, as soon as President Mike says start, he goes off. He's super fast because his ability to take energy from other living matter or, non-living matter. He basically always has energy inside of him because he's always taking small amounts of energy from everything around him. So he can build it up and, kind of hold it in his storage of energy. So he just blasts off extremely fast before anybody else, destroying three robots as soon as President Mike says start. And after this, Deku just kind of solidifies his role as leader of the pack by just, pointing his fingers, shooting out lasers, destroying robots, and Bakugo and Izuku are competing to see who can get the most robots, and they end up, teaming up to destroy one robot, albeit accidental, because they just were both trying to get the maximum amount of points that they could. So they attacked the same robot and destroyed the robot on both sides. Deku shot a laser through it, and Bakugo exploded it at the exact same time. So, yeah, let's just say add whatever Deku had in the original for canon. Let's just say Deku had 60 normally. We'll say that, Deku in this version gets 40 villain points, and because of the teamwork points, he gets 30 more. So, that within itself is really just amazing. So now he has 70 extra points to his 60. So now it's 130. And let's just say, because of rescue points, he gets 20. So he's at 190. And let's say he's at third. Let's say that... No, he's at second. First is Bakugo with 200. Second is Izuku Midoriya with 190. And third is, let's just say, some random Tenya Ida. We'll say Tenya Ida. Or Kirishima. Or someone is third, right? So Bakugo immediately goes to Izuku and says, ha, see, I am better than you. I beat you, and, it's your fault. You suck, you lose, all of that. And Izuku just says, the only reason I lost is because you stole my robots. You weren't even supposed to be in my area. You know that I was the one who went in this direction and you went in yours. You shouldn't have even came over here. You cheated, and that's not fair. Bakugo says, well, it's not supposed to be fair. This isn't some game. And Izuku actually, kind of recognizes this and says, okay, yeah, I guess you're right. So immediately after this, they go, and all of the teachers in the stands, or not in the stands, but like in the observation booth, are astounded by these two kids, because they're like, wow, they blew through those robots like they were nothing. That's crazy. And especially the one with the lasers. He beat the zero pointer super easy. And now this is a flashback. When Deku saw Uraraka stuck under the rubble, he instantly went over to help her, lifting the rubble off of her super quickly and saving her. But the zero pointer is still encroaching on their position, and he can't move too fast, especially with Uraraka, having her leg hurt. So basically, Deku just decides to unleash all of the pent up energy that he actually has been storing for, like, all of that whole day. And that results in him using a move called God Punch that basically pins up all of the energy that he has into his knuckle, and when he punches and makes contact, he releases all of it from that tiny point, making it super powerful, and just obliterates the zero pointer robot. The robot's gone, the robot's dead. There's no coming back for their robot. Basically, everyone's astounded by this display of power and how nonchalant it was, because he didn't get tired or anything. He just kind of picked Uraraka up and kept moving. But the test ended shortly after that, and the results came in. That's how we know. So back to present. Now, after, Bakugo and Izuku's, kind of scuffle, I guess you could say, their little disagreement, they get assigned to their classes based off their scores. So, but before that, basically, they say, okay, you all pass, let's just say everyone who's normally there in canon passes, and there's no real difference besides the placement of students. So, everyone who's in class 1A normally is in class 1A. So we start here in class 1A, and everyone's walking in, and we see Deku. We come back to Deku and sees the big door, and is really shocked by this. Like, wow, this door is huge. And basically opens the door, walks through, only to see Tenya, or Ida. I don't know why I call him Tenya, but Ida essentially arguing with Bakugo about why he has his feet on the table. And Bakugo says, because I am going to be the number one hero, I don't care about your rules, and I really don't need you to tell me what to do. And Ida just says that's disrespectful to the people who sat here before us, the heroes who sat in those desks, and that's just like, destroying public property or whatever. Sorry about that. And Bakugo doesn't care, just keeps ignoring him until he sees Izuku, and immediately looks at him and gives him a glare, almost kind of saying, like, you're late, or something like that. And Ida immediately leaves Bakugo alone and goes to Midori and says, how did you know about the teamwork points and the rescue points? We must become great friends. You must have already known prior to the test happening. You must be really smart. And Ida starts bombarding, Izuku with a lot of questions, and Izuku just kind of backs away slowly and tries to get out of the situation and goes to his seat. And he just ends up saying, hi, Ida. Your name's Ida, right? Hi, I just kind of want to go sit down in my seat now. We can talk later. Class is about to start. So basically, after he sits, Mr. Aizawa pops up, looking, dead, basically. And just his sleeping bag, which he can stand up in, which is amazing. That's the best quirk ever. Basically, he says it took you 4 seconds to calm down. That cannot happen. This needs to go a lot faster. So basically, he says, go put on your PE uniforms. We're going outside to assess your quirks today. And, some random kid in the class says, what about orientation? He and Mr. Aizawa says, this is my class. I can do whatever I want. And he just says, okay, tells them, go get dressed, come back outside. They all finish doing this, and immediately Mr. Aizawa passes the ball to Bakugo, says, you were first, and you were first in the entrance exam. Let's see what you can do. So what is your, baseball throw? And Bakugo just says, some, randomly low number. And he says, okay, well, now use your quirk. And let's just say Bakugo throws it for the sake of argument and for the sake that he's been fighting someone as strong as Deku. For the sake of argument, let's just say he throws it 1,015 meters with his quirk. Say he does that. And next up is Izuku. He says second place. Let's see what you can do. And Deku, he says, what was your normal score? And Deku just says, like 45 meters, nothing too impressive. And he says, okay, well, just let's use your quirk. Deku just kind of uses the energy reserves he already has to empower his hand and chucks the ball like 1,000, chucks the ball, a clean 1,030 and beats Bakugo by 15 points. Bakugo's fuming, and everyone else does the same as in the canon, and he sees people laughing and astounded by how powerful Deku's throw was, and he says, okay. He says, you want to laugh? Okay, well, whoever gets the lowest score in this exam will be kicked out of UA. And everyone immediately gets serious and says, hey, you can't do that. We worked hard to get here. And then Mr. Aizawa says, again, like I said earlier, this is my class. I can expel you on the spot. And everyone just kind of gets scared and is like, wow, that's really scary. Why did he say that? And he goes on to essentially take the test and observe them. And no one gets expelled, and Mineta is still at the bottom. And the top person in the class is Deku, because Deku won by a landslide, in the grip test, in the jump test, in the speed test, because of his enhancements with his energy. So he easily beats Dash's Ida, like leaving him in the dust. He leaps clean over the like measurement area, so he's just clean over that, and there's no even need to go any further. He just, he beats basically everything. Bakugo's only real asset is, the ball throw, which he botched. So, Deku basically is in first place. Second is Bakugo, and third is Todoroki. And, he's like, wow, these kids really sure do have some power. These are probably my top 3 students. And, Ida's, second. Ida's fourth. He's okay, but he has a lot of way to go. These people have really, really no